A billionaire's fiancée looked a humble maid in the eyes and whispered, "Any last wish before you leave?" She thought she had destroyed an ordinary servant's life forever. But just seconds later, a black luxury car rolled into the driveway. And what happened next exposed a betrayal so shocking that it ended an engagement, uncovered a carefully planned lie, and left everyone in that mansion speechless. Stay until the end, because this isn't just a story about wealth, it's a story about the priceless value of truth. Crystal chandeliers bathed the billionaire's mansion in golden light as dozens of workers rushed to perfect every detail for the engagement celebration everyone in the city was talking about. Fresh flowers lined the marble staircase, musicians rehearsed softly in the grand hall, and distinguished guests began filling the estate with laughter and admiration. Hidden behind the glamour, however, a very different story was unfolding. Among the staff moved a quiet young maid named Elena. She had spent years serving the household with unwavering honesty, earning the respect of every employee through kindness, humility, and relentless dedication. She never sought recognition. She simply believed that character mattered more than status. With the billionaire unexpectedly called away to an urgent business meeting, his glamorous fiancée eagerly assumed control of the mansion. Elegant on the outside, but deeply insecure beneath the polished smile, she had long resented the trust and admiration Elena quietly received. Tonight, surrounded by influential guests, she decided it was finally time to remind everyone exactly who held power. She intercepted Elena in a secluded hallway where the music faded into silence. Leaning closer, she smiled without warmth and whispered, "Any last wish before you leave?" Elena blinked in confusion, certain she had misunderstood. "You've been stealing from this family," the fiancé continued calmly. "A priceless heirloom is missing, and we've found enough evidence. You're finished." Within moments, security guards approached and respectfully but firmly escorted Elena toward the front entrance. Guests paused their conversations, watching in uncomfortable silence as whispers spread across the ballroom. Fighting back tears, Elena pleaded that she had never stolen anything. But no one dared question the woman who was about to become the lady of the house. The humiliation seemed complete. Then, just as the grand front doors slowly opened, the unmistakable sound of another luxury car rolling into the driveway caused every head to turn toward the entrance. Only a few hours earlier, before the mansion had filled with music and elegant conversation, another scene had unfolded in complete silence. While the household focused on preparing for the evening's celebration, the billionaire's fiancée slipped through a restricted corridor leading to the family's private vault. She entered using an access code she had recently been entrusted with, carefully glanced over her shoulder, and removed a priceless heirloom that had been passed down through generations. Her movements were calm, deliberate, and rehearsed, as though this moment had been planned long before the invitations were ever sent. Instead of hiding the necklace, she placed it inside a velvet pouch and carried it toward the servants' quarters. Waiting until no one was nearby, she quietly tucked the pouch beneath the cleaning supplies on Elena's service cart, leaving just enough evidence to make the discovery appear believable. Every detail had been calculated. Every step was designed to point toward one innocent person. The truth was never about the necklace. It was about jealousy. More than once, the billionaire had praised Elena's honesty in front of family members, business associates, and household staff. Whenever expensive items went missing temporarily, he trusted Elena without hesitation. He often remarked that loyalty could never be purchased, and that people like her were the foundation of every successful home. Those simple words, offered as professional respect, became seeds of resentment inside his fiancée. In her mind, anyone who earned his admiration threatened her own place beside him. As whispers spread through the mansion, several longtime employees exchanged uneasy glances. Elena had worked there for years without a single complaint, never asking for favors and never giving anyone a reason to doubt her integrity. The head housekeeper struggled to believe the accusation, while senior staff quietly questioned whether something deeper was happening. Yet none of them possessed enough authority to challenge the woman preparing to marry the billionaire. Elena herself refused to point fingers. Though tears gathered in her eyes, she answered every accusation with calm dignity, unwilling to save herself by falsely accusing another person. Even the security guards escorting her toward the entrance sensed something wasn't right. But duty forced them to obey orders they privately questioned. Outside, one luxury vehicle after another arrived beneath the glowing lights, carrying distinguished guests unaware that the celebration had already begun unraveling from within. Meanwhile, deep inside the estate's security office, someone reviewing the surveillance recordings suddenly noticed something that should never have appeared on the screen. Moments later, the sleek black sedan came to a smooth stop beneath the mansion's grand entrance. The billionaire had returned hours ahead of schedule after the overseas business meeting was abruptly canceled. He stepped out expecting to find music, celebration, and smiling faces. Instead, an uneasy silence hung over the estate. Conversation stopped the instant people noticed him. Guests avoided eye contact, and even longtime employees wore expressions of quiet anxiety. His eyes immediately settled on a heartbreaking sight. Standing near the entrance was Elena, clutching a small cardboard box containing the few personal belongings from years of loyal service. Her uniform was perfectly neat despite the tears she fought to hide. Two security guards stood nearby, visibly uncomfortable, while the guests watched from a distance, unsure whether to speak or remain silent. The billionaire looked from Elena to the guards, then toward his fiancée. His voice remained steady as he asked a single simple question. "What's happening?" Without hesitation, the fiancée stepped forward wearing a confident smile. She explained that a priceless family heirloom had disappeared and that undeniable evidence had been discovered inside Elena's cleaning cart. She insisted that immediate action had been necessary to protect the family's reputation before the evening's celebration. Her polished explanation sounded convincing enough that several guests slowly nodded in agreement. The billionaire never interrupted her. He listened to every word with the same calm expression he used during difficult business negotiations. When she finished, he remained silent for a brief moment before turning toward the head of security. "I'd like to see the estate's surveillance recordings." The request sent a wave of tension through the room. Within minutes, everyone gathered inside the private security office. The monitors replayed footage from earlier that morning. At first, nothing appeared unusual. Staff members moved through the hallways preparing decorations, caterers unloaded supplies, and musicians arrived one after another. Then, the crucial recording appeared. The cameras clearly showed that Elena had never entered the restricted vault where the priceless heirloom had been kept. Instead, another camera captured the fiancée quietly leaving the vault with a small velvet pouch concealed beneath her coat. Moments later, a different angle revealed her approaching Elena's unattended cleaning cart. After carefully checking that no one was watching, she slipped the pouch beneath the supplies before walking away as though nothing had happened. The room erupted with stunned gasps. Guests stared at the screens in complete disbelief. Staff members who had doubted Elena lowered their heads in shame. Even the security guards exchanged shocked glances, realizing they had escorted an innocent woman toward disgrace. The fiancée's confident smile vanished. Her face turned pale as she stumbled over her words, insisting the footage had been misunderstood, that there had to be another explanation, that everything was simply a terrible mistake. The billionaire looked at her without anger, without raising his voice, and without a trace of hesitation. Then he quietly said, "The engagement is over." The room fell into absolute silence. For several long seconds, no one moved. The billionaire's words echoed through the silent room, leaving his fiancée frozen in disbelief. Then, as reality finally settled in, she rushed toward him with tears streaming down her face. "Please," she whispered, "don't end everything over one mistake." Her confident voice had disappeared, replaced by desperation. She admitted that jealousy had clouded her judgment. She confessed that every compliment he had given Elena felt like a threat, even though she knew there had never been anything inappropriate between them. Fear had convinced her that if she couldn't earn his complete admiration, she would eliminate anyone who seemed to have it. The billionaire listened quietly before answering. Money can replace a necklace, he said. Businesses recover from losses. Mansions can be rebuilt. But trust, once broken by choice, is almost impossible to restore. His words carried no anger, only disappointment. Turning toward his legal advisor, who had arrived moments earlier after receiving an urgent call, he gave a calm instruction. Prepare the documents. The engagement ends today. Cancel every legal arrangement connected to it. There was no argument. No dramatic confrontation, only the unmistakable sound of consequences arriving with quiet certainty. By then, several members of both families had entered the mansion after hearing confused reports from guests outside. They watched the security footage for themselves, and every remaining doubt disappeared. Expressions of celebration gave way to shock, embarrassment, and profound regret. One by one, guests quietly collected their coats and left the estate. They understood they had witnessed something far more significant than a canceled engagement. They had seen character tested under pressure, and the truth had spoken louder than appearances ever could. The household staff slowly approached Elena. The head housekeeper apologized first, followed by others who admitted they had wanted to defend her but had been too afraid to challenge authority. Even the security guards lowered their heads, expressing sincere regret for escorting her out without knowing the truth. Finally, the billionaire stepped forward himself, looking directly into Elena's eyes. He said, "You deserved my protection long before you deserved my apology. I failed to recognize what was happening under my own roof, and for that, I am deeply sorry." Elena offered a gentle smile. She accepted his apology without bitterness, refusing to celebrate another person's downfall. Her quiet grace transformed the atmosphere inside the mansion, earning a level of respect no title or fortune could ever buy. But as everyone believed the painful chapter had finally ended, the billionaire looked around the room once more. He wasn't finished. He had one final announcement that nobody expected. The billionaire allowed the silence to settle before addressing. Everyone gathered inside the mansion. "Today isn't only about correcting an injustice," he began. "It's about making sure nothing like this can ever happen again." Instead of handing Elena a generous check and hoping money would erase the pain she had endured, he announced a permanent initiative that surprised every person in the room. Every employee across his companies would have access to a new scholarship and career development program, giving hardworking staff opportunities to study, grow, and advance based on merit rather than background or connections. Promotions would no longer depend solely on titles or influence, but on integrity, dedication, and the trust employees earned through their actions. The announcement filled the room with quiet amazement. Then he turned toward Elena. "For years," he said, "you've shown this family what honesty looks like, even when nobody was watching." He offered her a leadership position in employee relations, explaining that no policy or handbook could inspire people as much as someone who had lived those values every single day. Elena lowered her eyes and gently shook her head. "I'm grateful," she said softly, "but there are surely others more qualified than I am." The billionaire smiled. "Skills can be taught," he replied. "Experience can be gained, but character cannot be manufactured. Real leadership doesn't begin with authority. It begins with integrity." Those words touched everyone present. In the days that followed, news of the extraordinary events spread rapidly across television broadcasts, online publications, and social media. Millions praised the billionaire for placing truth above appearances and refusing to ignore injustice, even when it came from someone he had planned to marry. Others found inspiration in Elena's quiet courage, noting that she never sought revenge, never demanded sympathy, and never abandoned her dignity, even during her darkest moment. Over time, the mansion became famous for something entirely different than its luxury or its canceled engagement celebration. It became a symbol of a lesson that reached far beyond its elegant walls. The fiancé believed power came from wealth and status. The maid proved that true respect is earned through honesty, humility, and unwavering character. In the end, the billionaire didn't just expose a lie, he reminded everyone that trust is the richest treasure anyone can possess.